Episode 186 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Addison Edmonds from Gunner Kennels. This episode is brought to you by Carhartt. No other hunting gear works harder. Since 1889, Carhartt has been crafting the penultimate American workwear. From deer to duck, Carhartt crafts all the best men's hunting clothes you need so you can focus on the hunt and not your outfit. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/CarharttHunt and upgrade your hunting gear this season. That's outdoorbizpodcast.com/CarharttHunt. I believe achieving success in the outdoor biz is dependent upon embracing the outdoor lifestyle and learning from outdoor leaders that came before you. If you agree, then listen up for tips, advice, and hacks about growing or starting your career in the outdoor biz. My name is Rick Sayes. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Addison and I talk about how Gunner Kennels came to life and the safety features their kennels deliver to protect your pets. But before we get into the interview, my book Trails to the Top went live last week on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com, search Rick Sayes or Trails to the Top and grab your copy. The Kindle version is $9.99 and the paperback is $14.99. Great stories, outdoor career advice, and more from guests on the Outdoor Biz Podcast. You'll be entertained and you might even learn a little something from these characters. Hey, Addison, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to catch up with you. So you have a pretty unique angle on the outdoor biz. What was your introduction to the outdoors?
In terms of like first job?
Yeah, first job, or how did you get excited about hanging out outside or hunting or whatever it was?
Yeah.
As a kid?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I think just being obsessed with John Wayne movies and wanted to be a cowboy. And,
Nice.
and I mean, probably picked up my first BB gun when I was 5 or 6 and just became obsessed with fishing and hunting.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was just always an obsession that I could never get enough of it. So kind of has shaped my entire kind of direction of my life.
Where'd you grow up?
In Brentwood, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville. It's basically Nashville.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
A lot of hunting and fishing back there.
Yep. And then went to school and went to college in Mississippi, and there's even more opportunity
Right.
in Mississippi.
What was your first did you have a traditional outdoor job? Did you work retail or anything? Or what was your first outdoor job?
No, not really anything until I started this company.
Oh.
I mean, when I was in college, I started an advertising company, but it didn't have anything to do with outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And then came up with this idea to build the best dog kennel in the world. And so I sold that and started this one. So that was kind of my first hop into the outdoor industry.
Man, you went in feet first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd the idea for Gunner Kennels come from?
So I was on my way to a hunt, and I bought Gunner when I was a junior in college, and I just became obsessed. I'd always had chocolate labs, but I never had one that I trained to hunt. And he was a phenomenal dog, and I just became obsessed with it. And he was just my little, sidekick, everywhere. I'd go everywhere with him, and I worked at a tree farm, and I'd take him out there, and he'd run around while I was watering all the trees. And I just didn't like the kennels that were available on the market. I always felt so uneasy about traveling with him. There's no good way to tie him down, and the doors would always break. And,
Wow.
And just the whole list of features, everything that I put into this kennel is just what I felt was lacking, for the available kennels, which, just let's see, Gunner's 11. So,
Wow.
10 years ago.
So you put a lot in design. And how did you research that? Did you go, what was the inspiration? Did you look at all kinds of other roto molded like kayaks and stuff, or how did you figure that out?
No. So when I decided, that other people would probably want the same thing that I want, which is the best kennel out there.
Right.
I just started looking into, okay, so what's that mean to be the best? Well, number one, it means the safest.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, the most utilitarian, like all the features that I wanted in a kennel. And then, number three, the best looking and just the whole gamut. And so the part about safety it's weird because I didn't start the company saying I want to make the safest dog kennel,
right.
But that was just a feature that I had to,
just a byproduct.
It had to be. Yeah. So when looking into, all the dog kennels on the market are injection molded, and they would all be very brittle. And I'd just been introduced to Yeti coolers and kind of heard that word roto molding, heard that term.
Got you.
And after looking into it, the toughest plastic. You've got the option of injection molding and roto molding.
Right.
And so just having that rotational molding makes the plastic not brittle and bomb proof essentially.
So you were kind of learning it as you went then, huh?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I'm still doing that.
You had no design background, nothing.
No, I wish I did. I think Ole Miss had a pretty good engineering school, but
right.
It was all trial and error. I've always kind of tinkered and always, my dad was pretty handy, and I'd always just steal his tools and work on my trucks, and just always doing tinkering. And so that's kind of where it came out of. And when I convinced myself, hey, this is an idea that I want to pursue, and I sold my company that I started and put everything I had into starting this one, it was just all trial and error.
Wow, that's crazy. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How'd you learn about the crash test requirements? I guess there's specific requirements for kennels.
Yeah. So I was thinking like, man, I need to do some crash testing, and just looked around on the internet and found this organization called the Center for Pet Safety.
Oh, nice.
And they had done some crash testing with harnesses, but not with crates, I don't think. And I contacted her. I said, hey, I want to do a crash test on this kennel that I'm designing. I think it's going to be able to hold up to everything that a crash test, everything that takes place. And I think I remember her laughing, being like, yeah, no, I don't care what you're going to design. It's not going to hold up with these crash tests with these dummy dogs. Like, there's no crate on the market that can hold up. And I just was like, I don't know. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, hold my beer. Watch this.
Yeah. So, and sure enough, like, we got the first kennel in and went and ran a crash test, and is a very violent
I can imagine
test.
I can imagine.
And it's actually only representing a 30-mile-an-hour, basically your car's going 30 and you hit a immovable wall essentially.
So it doesn't account for if the kennel falls out of the car and tumbles down the highway?
No.
Wow.
I think so. This test that they I think that they set up guidelines for, they based it off of a test platform for I think baby car seats.
Yep.
And so then they designed the requirements. The whole goal for crash testing for a dog crate is containment of the dog before, during, and after the wreck.
Okay.
Because that's the first thing you want to ensure is the dog's not going to break out and then go through the windshield of your car and run away or whatever. And so we did our first test. I had to make our door. It was originally a wire door, and the manufacturers over in China for the door said I had to go ahead and place a PO. I think it was like $15,000 worth of doors. Well, we did a first crash test, and the dummy dog just broke right through the door with ease.
Right.
So I was like, oh gosh, we got to go back to the drawing board now. And so we designed what the door is now, where it's got its own door frame system. And so we had to engineer that. Then we ran more crash tests, and the dummy dog still would go through the door.
Wow.
And then we engineered some backup latches on the top and bottom, and then the dummy dog still went through the door. And then we realized that we were using aluminum rivets in the frame to connect the hinge, and we switched to stainless steel rivets. And before that crash test, I was sick because I was like, if this doesn't work, I don't know what it is. I've tried everything, sunk a whole lot more money into it than we planned, and had to scrap a bunch of other parts. So thankfully it kept the dummy dog in the kennel.
Wow.
And so that's the design we're going to go with.
Who was doing the engineering for you? Did you have friends or buddies that were engineers, or how'd you get all that worked out?
No. So as an engineer for a custom rotational molding company.
Okay.
One of my board members connected me with an old college buddy who happened to be the I think chairman of the board of that rotational molding company.
Oh.
And they said, we don't really work with startups, but you can use one of our engineers.
Oh,
cool. Took about 1.5 years to design. I didn't know what it wanted to look like. I didn't know anything. I just knew the features I wanted. And so it took a long time. And then after that, we found a different manufacturer to actually produce the parts.
And they're all made in the USA, right? Produced in the USA.
Yes, I was just about to say I got kind of burned from that scrapping all that metal. So,
yeah, that's a lot of money what do you do with that? Scrap, exactly.
Right.
So where in the US are they made? Down in the South?
No, the top and bottom half of the kennel, the rotational molded part is in Iowa, and then the door panel is up in the Northeast. The door frame is in kind of the North Midwest, and then we've got different vendors all over the country for smaller components and stuff like that.
And where are they assembled? All the parts come to you there? Or?
Yep, everything comes to our warehouse here in Nashville, and you might hear the air compressor in the background of the guys building doors back there. But all the assembly and fulfillment goes on at our warehouse.
Very cool. So you get to travel all around to these factories and check designs and check production, right? What's that like?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Visiting with them and seeing how everything's done. A lot of in terms of the most important, I guess, functioning part of the kennel is the door. So we build that, in-house, and we're able to kind of QC check it in real time. But yeah, everything is still being fulfilled and quality checked and everything here in-house.
How big's your team there?
I think we're about 17 people.
Oh wow!
Now.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. We've picked up in the last few months, so we've added about 4 or 5 in the last few months. Where we're going to add another 4 or 5 in the next few months.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, and tell us about your first sale. Do you have a sales background, or how did that come about?
Well, I started that advertising company first, and I hated advertising, and I hated selling, but I was the salesman.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a low key approach to sales, but I made it work. But here for this one, I was really lucky in the fact that right about the time we came out, Subaru of America and the Center for Pet Safety conducted a crate crash test worthiness study, and turns out that we got top performer.
Oh,
so
wow.
we had the best kennel, and so we got a lot of publicity from the start with USA Today and Good Morning America.
Awesome.
and you name it. So the sales part of it was a little bit easier than I planned. I mean, we didn't dealers were coming to us to sell the kennels, and we were rarely reaching out trying to get them sold.
That's nice. Yeah, great.
For the first 3 years, we were backed up. We never really were able to ship on time.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah.
So I bet
a good problem to have, but still a problem.
Yeah, it's still a problem. Yeah, good problem to have. Yeah. So I bet it wasn't challenging to convince consumers to spend $500 on a kennel. I mean, they spend way more than that on some of their dogs, right? That was the key. Everybody wants to keep their pet safe.
Yeah, and I originally wanted to sell the kennel at $349, like that was the goal. But then when we realized we had to make a better door, it just cost so much more than we intended, and so we had to start selling them at $500. And being the non-salesman that I was, when we'd go to shows, somebody would go, I'd never pay $500 for a kennel, and,
right.
and I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to try to convince them.
Right,
if somebody says, okay, what makes this kennel worth that, $500? It was, well, what don't you like about your kennel?
Right.
And then I just walked through all the features and stuff. So I guess I didn't hear as much pushback as I thought that I was going to.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, once you talk about the features and advantages and benefits, and then they look at their pet or their hunting dog. I mean, some of these dogs are a lot of money right out of the gate, and then you train them. I mean, it's $500 is nothing to keep your animals safe,
Yeah. And that was the whole reason why, like, once I had my kennel strapped in the back of my truck and put Gunner and Goose, our other dog, in the 2 kennels, and I was driving down the road, I thought I kind of had a sigh of relief going, okay, I've done everything I can do to give these dogs the best shot if I was to get in a wreck. Yeah. And so when you look at it like that, I mean, yeah, the in the grand scheme of things, with what I typically had, or what the customer that myself would be,
right.
You have a lot of money in that dog.
Yeah. Well, and not only money, but a lifetime with some of your, some of these dogs. You grew up with them as a kid, and it's like another member of the family. So you want to take care of them. Do you sell online or mostly at retail?
So we went direct to consumer a little over a year ago. So we had, I think at the time we had about 300 dealers through North America.
Wow.
Most of them just small mom and pop shops, and then specialty dog stores, but mostly hunting stores. And then we went direct, and so now, it's all online.
That's awesome. And mostly, is it mostly sporting goods, hunting stores, or what's the ratio of, hunting / outdoor stores to pet stores? Was it 50-50?
When we were doing retail, it was a small percentage was just the pet stores.
Gotcha.
It was a specialty pet food stores. Most of them were the hunting stores, and then at the end, I think we had like Bass Pro and Cabela's that they had them in a few stores. I didn't put them in all of them.
Yeah,
they were given a test run right up when we went direct.
Yeah, the famous Bass Pro Cabela's Dick's Sporting Goods test job.
Yeah,
we've all been through that many times. So, do you sell any retail now, or it's all online?
No, it's all online.
Wow, good for you. Interesting. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And do you have? I think I read somewhere where you're planning to build out the product line. What's that look like? Or maybe you don't want to talk about that yet.
No, I can talk about that. It's really exciting. The first 3 years, I basically had a year and a half to design the kennel with nothing else to do besides I'd work odd jobs to pay the bills, and I just got married. But but then when I started, I was just trying to keep the company afloat and just run things, and didn't have as much time to work on products. And that's kind of what my strong suit would be. And so we got requests from winning that award. We got requests for a larger and smaller kennel. And so we ended up building out 4 sizes: a small, medium, intermediate, and large. And so then we've got accessories, but I think that we've built a good name in the fact that we make the best dog kennel. And so I'm very dissatisfied with every other dog product that I use for Gunner.
Yeah.
And which keeps me mostly just not using them. And so last year we bought Gunner.com, and we are going to be transitioning into just Gunner instead of Gunner Kennels as these new products come out. So essentially what we're doing is trying to make the best possible dog products, and it's going to range from everything you use, for your dog's life.
Wow. So like from food bowls to harnesses.
Yep.
Wow, very cool. That's awesome.
Yep.
And is that product going to be made in the USA also?
Yeah, as much as I can. I enjoy being able to pick up the phone and have good, clear communication with my vendors, as much as possible.
Or go see them on a couple-hour flight, not a halfway around the world flight. Yeah, that's very cool.
Right.
So let's shift gears a little bit. What outdoor activities do you participate in addition to hunting and fishing?
Say that one more time.
What outdoor activities do you participate in addition to hunting and fishing?
Oh, yeah. Camping is so much fun, especially if you can pair it with like canoeing, canoeing and go camping. I think that's what we used to do for spring break, was we'd go down the Buffalo River in Arkansas, about 70 miles.
Nice.
That's the cheapest, most fun you can have. So yeah, camping and canoeing and but really, if I've got time to spend, it's going to be hunting or fishing. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but the day our website launched in 2015 was also the day we had our first child.
Oh, wow.
And she just had her 4th birthday, and we just had our 4th child about a week after that. So we had 4 kids in 48 months. So between running the company and trying to raise 4 toddlers and babies, I'm not wasting time by just going and trying to be good at golf right now.
That's right. Yeah. You've been a little busy. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What kind of fishing do you do?
Freshwater and saltwater. I haven't been able to start fly fishing, but big bass fishing around here. Matter of fact, I took my kids fishing yesterday at the golf course. We're temporarily living on the golf course, but it comes with its perks. It's got ponds you can take the kids fishing.
Great, that's handy.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's awesome. So do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to start their own business or get into the outdoor business like you did?
That's a great question. Yes. I mean, you gotta, and that's why I was wanting to start a podcast of our own, was because so many people come up and say, hey, how did you get this started? What do I need to know? And
right.
really, I'd say dream big, and you just got to figure it out. You can't quit. I think a lot of people have these great ideas for products or a company or whatever, and it dies, after step one of trying to figure out what to do after that. And so you just can't quit. You gotta, I guess you gotta be ignorant to all the risk and just hard work.
Yeah, stick at it. Yeah, it does take a lot of hard work. So with 4 little toddlers, you may not have many daily routines, but do you have any daily routines to keep your sanity?
Well, right now it's I run Gunner. By the time we get the kids down, I'll hop on the golf cart and run him.
Nice.
With or without a drink in my hand, but that's about the only thing. And he's in great shape for being 11, but a lot of older dogs, you get a tendency to let them start getting out of shape. And so I really try to make that a daily. I mean, it was actually 2 days ago, it was the first time I haven't ran him in like 2 weeks, and I felt really bad. But
Wow.
we're going to Canada next week to go hunting, and
Cool.
just trying to prep him for that as much as possible.
That's probably a daily routine that he likes too. He probably gets a little anxious when you don't show up for the run. Say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he comes to work with me most days, but he just lays there, and he's just constantly wanting to retrieve. And so this is, I guess, his time to get all his fun.
Yeah, exactly. Get his exercise in. Do you have any favorite books or books you give as gifts?
Yeah. Only one that comes to mind, and it's only for my friends that get new dogs. They always say, because Gunner I had never trained a dog, but he was very, very well trained growing up. I've let him. He's been a little spoiled.
He's a little lazy now.
The last couple of years, yeah. But so there's a guy named Vic Barlow, and he has a book called British Training for the American Retriever. And something about that book, I didn't even read the whole thing through. I just the first part of it kind of helps you learn and understand how dogs learn, and I kind of was able to get in Gunner's head because of that book, and I mean, he could do anything I'd ask him to. I mean, he's very, very smart, and so that's a good book just to try to figure out kind of how dogs think.
That's good. We'll link to that in the show notes. That sounds like a good one. What kind of a dog is Gunner again?
He's a British chocolate lab.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we raised labs when I was a kid. We had black labs. Yeah, I love those dogs. They're great. So smart and so well behaved. They're so gentle with people and whatnot.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah.
How about your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
It's a good question. I think I'd have to say like what I use daily, and I mean all day, every day, especially if I'm going outdoors, is the Yeti 26-ounce Rambler bottle.
Okay.
Those Yeti bottles with chug cap. I mean, it's just, I keep ice in it, and then after I drink all the water, I can go anywhere and get water and still have ice water with me all the time.
Wow, cool. Awesome. We'll link to that in the show notes too. That's
that, and there's one other one that I thought of because I just got it. So there's this product called the Thrash Can.
Thrash Can.
It's THRASH. It's the Thrash Can like bucket cover. It's basically a net that goes over a bucket with a slit in it, and it makes it a little trash can. It's made for boats for fishing and stuff.
Oh, cool.
But I keep it in my truck now, and any trash I have throughout the day, I just throw it right in there. So I mean, it's great.
Great, yeah.
And it's only like $15 or $20 or something. So it's a good find because I don't know how I heard of it, but
I'm gonna look for one of those. Put it in my car. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I'll put it in my Subaru. That'd be awesome. Yeah. As we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to ask or say to our audience?
No, not that I can think of.
And where can people find you? Twitter, email, Instagram? We'll link to all your Twitter and Facebook feeds, but if they want to reach out to you and ask questions or follow up, what's the best way?
I don't have
LinkedIn,
any social media myself, but we've got a private Facebook group called the GK Discussion Den, and that's how, if people need to reach me, that's how they'll get on there, or they'll call the customer service or anything.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah. Or I think you can DM the Instagram. My wife, Emily, does. Her and a couple other people run our Instagram.
Okay.
And so just DMing our Instagram, I think would be a good way.
Cool. Yeah, we'll link to all your socials, and then we'll put a link to that GK discussion group too, and if anyone wants to follow up. Well, it's been great catching up with you, man. I hope to meet you someday at a trade show somewhere.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And we'll chat again once this goes live.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Addison.
Yep.
If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.